Today we are here for about interviewing you on some very interesting topics and questions. But before I get started, I'll have a small introduction introducing your background. To
Mhm.
all our viewers, today we have Liudas with us with over 15 years of experience in digital fintech, banking, KYC, and many other aspects. He's joining us today as co founder and CEO of Ondato, and we are gathering today to discuss about onboarding and customer experiences. Before we go forward into the interview, a very big thank you from our side for being our main sponsors, and we shall be looking forward to seeing you in person in London very soon. Do let me know if you're good to start with the questions, please.
Yeah, sure. It's good.
Perfect. We have about 5 to 6 questions, and I would request you to take 3 to 4 minutes per question so
Mhm.
that we can answer all of them in a span of 20 to 30 minutes.
Mhm.
So, starting with my first question to you is what's the story behind founding Ondato?
Yeah, so it's really good question, and to be honest, it's like very organic for me. As you know, I've spent last years in the fintech industry and the financial industry, and for me, the changing environment, the regulatory changing, the world going digital, and customers and users demanding services just right here, right now. A bit of like gave an idea that. I just don't want to compete in the retail sector, being just another financial institution, but more to help others and other financial institutions to run the business and to benefit from the compliance. And that's where, with this mission to turn the compliance into the business benefit, we founded Ondato. And yeah, the journey started there. It was more related with the knowledge and the team behind me that could follow this vision and that could lead the developments of the company.
Excellent. For all of us based in India, it's a very exciting time because there are a lot of digital and finance changes happening in the economy. So I'm sure today's interview is going to be very, very meaningful and engaging for all of us. Going to the second question, if you could talk about the technology which makes Ondato's verification software so very different and secure.
Yeah, so from the day one, we understood in what kind of field we are operating. Yeah? So that's why we have chosen like let's say more stable technologies from the very beginning. So we were building everything on like Microsoft's framework and architecture from the data side and of course with the technologies that relates with the possibilities to bypass or to go through the process, in the front end applications. Yeah. So from that perspective, like it just I wouldn't say that technologies everywhere are the same, to be honest. So it's just the question of how we are using those technologies and for what kind of purpose we are using that. So in our core. The data security side, it just sits from the day one because that's the main task and the main target, just to ensure the right security and level. We made some unique thing from the very beginning together with Microsoft's Azure, putting all the customers' data into the separate instances from the day one, that then when we onboard the customer, just to try to keep all the data as separate as possible from the day one of the interaction. And then of course all the other parts are just like I would say the outcome of the targets that we have through the process. So like
Got it. Got
how
it.
to ensure that this is the live person behind the camera, that
Right.
is not some kind of picture or
Okay.
something. So these
Right.
these kind of technologies are applied.
So just like you mentioned about customer and data, my next question is that what makes your KYC products stand out compared to the rest of the market? If you could just tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so you see, the focus is actually how to make the process as frictionless as possible for the user, in the meantime, ensuring the targets that we have. Yeah. So the first target within the company and that sits in the core and what we are actually offering to our clients is that the zero fraud level. Yeah. So it means that we are coming from that perspective. On the other hand, it's still a requirement from the users to go through the process as frictionless as possible. Yeah. So this combination that actually makes the product unique. So that in the 3 single steps, the customer can just show the face, show the document, and basically bypass through the process. But in the meantime, in the back end, it ensures that there's a real person behind the camera, that there's no spoofing attack, that the document is not fake, and that everything is done right. So
Right.
this combination makes the product unique.
Perfect. So what's interesting is that you've already answered some of the parts of my next question, but I'll still go ahead and share that with you. These days, digital fraud and cyber attacks are becoming way too regular. So how does Ondato deal with such specific threats of cyber attacks?
Yeah, so and it's a really good question, for elaboration a bit of. You are totally right that especially nowadays, when everything is moving digital, the cyber attacks and spoofing attacks are just becoming, numbers are growing as crazy, So and here, the main task is actually just to identify those risks and identify those attacks, what kind of origin is that, and then to solve that. So at Ondato, we are building these solutions, basically, just evaluating any issue step by step, what kind of problematic it has, and then solving that with the help of machine learning, with the help of artificial intelligence, on recognizing those patterns, including, of course, here to mention the extra level of the data validation. So what we do, and we just do not trust all the data that the customer is providing only, but we are always checking that in whatever type of possible data in the databases, meaning not only the standalone data of the like name, surname, or whatever, but also validating the emails, IP addresses, and all this stuff, if it actually correlates with the information provided by the user. And that combination then gives us the possibility to actually avoid the fraud or to eliminate the fraud risk.
Got it. Got it. My last question for this interview is that what are the different insights for Ondato's products to oversee compliance of data? We have spoken about cyber fraud, we have spoken about KYC. If you could talk a little bit about overseeing compliance data and how your products are answering or differentiating in that space, please.
Yeah, so you see, again, we build that as the platform for the compliance. Yeah, so as you're right, like the KYC part and everything is like a bit of the tools actually for enabling one or other type of process, but the main core is actually on the data side. What we have, what we collect on the user, all the ongoing due diligence part, and then the case management from that perspective. So of course that means that we have to ensure that our system is flexible enough to accept any kind of regulation applied within this jurisdiction, and those rules that are actually in operational side in different jurisdictions, because that even in European Union, an example, even though there's this kind of common regulation, there's still different ones in the different countries, and it's the same in India and all this stuff. So there are two parts of it, actually, like data compliance side. So first is like just meeting the regulatory requirements, again, from the data perspective and from the regulatory perspective, which means that, if data has to be kept in some kind of country, So we have to ensure that is done so, and that's what we ensure. From this perspective, we are lucky that we are using cloud technologies and basically spreaded cloud technologies, and we are able to deploy the solution within that region or even the country, depending on what kind of region we're talking about. And then, from the regulatory side, we made the system flexible enough to accept any kind of rules applied within this jurisdiction. So that's what we combine, and that's what we ensure for our customers.
I think before I put this to a closure, if I could go ahead and ask you one more question, if you are comfortable and if your time permits.
Of course.
As an expert, as a founder, as a CEO, as someone who has had 2 decades of experience, what kind of message would you like to share with some of the new startups or people who are just stepping into the roles of co-founders? Anything that can give our audience some kind of a personal experience or a personal touch from your side as to how to go about building a successful business?
So, I am kind of mentoring for quite a few as well, startups and trying to help as much as possible. And the advice I'm giving is that like focus on the problem that you're solving, So because I really sometimes see the examples when the companies are founded without the actual real purpose and the vision itself, So what we want to build. And what we want to solve, so how it will affect the existing infrastructure or the existing landscape, and that sometimes sounds a bit of maybe outdated, to have some like real vision or mission, but that's really important because even attracting people to join the company, to follow your vision. That's something that really is important, and you can only have the best talent when you have the clear vision of what you're building, with a clear mission on how you're doing that and what kind of problems you're solving, and only then you can attract the top talent, of course the capital as well, and understanding what real issue you are solving, because like there has to be a real evaluation from the founder's perspective that, okay, is this a real problem I'm solving, or is just me thinking that it is a problem that I'm solving? And that's really important question that everyone has to ask themselves.
Nice, perfect. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. And once again, thank you for being one of our key sponsors. On this note, I will wrap this interview up.